This man ate a raw liver with his bare hands by the light of burning fat, in a world where the nearest CVS was still 40,000 years away. No doctor, no refrigerator, not a single pill. Now compare that. California gold rush prospectors, with wagons full of provisions, lost their teeth and died of scurvy by the dozen. He didn't. We figured it was simple. Old means primitive. Primitive means dumber than us. Filthy, wild, knuckles dragging on the ground, all muscle and no brains. And we slapped a label on him. The dumb caveman. But that dummy could do 5 things you couldn't dream of. And after the 5th, you'll stop looking down on him. You're sure a fire means firewood. Now picture a plain as flat as Kansas, with nut trees at all. This is the Alaskan tundra, scorched by frost. Not a single tree to the horizon, 30 to 20,000 years ago. At night, the cold could drop below 40 below, colder than the worst January in Minnesota. No wood, and if you froze at night, you didn't wake up. So people burned bone, seemingly by design, not desperation. In Ice Age hearths, archaeologists find piles of charred bone and almost no wood charcoal. The spongy ends of bones, packed with fat, catch faster than the dense middle and hold heat longer than wood. The mammoth was their walking woodpile. They ate the meat, wore the hide, built the walls of their shelter out of the bones, and threw the scraps on the fire. Zero waste. Tens of thousands of years before it became a buzzword on a price tag at Whole Foods. So he'd handled the heat. A fire that burns even where there isn't a stick of wood. But what did he work with? A stone knife, sure, but he had one more tool, always on him, and it wasn't his hands. Look at your teeth. To you, they're a way to rip open a bag of chips when you can't find the scissors. To a Neanderthal, the front teeth were a workbench. Studying the wear, anthropologists noticed something strange. The incisors and canines are worn down more than the molars in the back. That doesn't happen to someone who just chews. It happens to someone who grips a piece of hide in his teeth, pulls with one hand, and cuts with a stone knife right at this lips. Scientists call it stuff and cut. And the teeth remembered it. On the front teeth of Neanderthals from the Krapina site in Croatia, there are thin scratches, the marks of a blade scraping the enamel again and again. From the direction of those scratches, researchers worked out that most Neanderthals were right-handed. And the same grooves turned up on the teeth of a child around 10 years old. He could stuff and cut while he was still in grade school. Your third hand is a phone wedged against your shoulder while you drop it for the 3rd time. Their third hand was their own mouth, and it worked with no charger, no case, and no upgrade every 2 years. Hands, teeth, stone. By day he was fully armed. But the day is short, and the night is long and black. When the sun went down, how did he push back the dark? When the lights go out, you reach for the switch or your phone. And when the phone dies too, you sit in the dark and wait for morning. Ancient man didn't get his light from an outlet. He got it from the body of a beast. In the Lascaux cave in southern France, they found dozens of stone lamps, a hollowed-out piece of sandstone filled with fat with a wick of juniper. Gas analysis found traces of horse and deer fat in the bowls. In 2021, researchers from the University of Cantabria in Spain rebuilt those lamps and lit them. The lamp gave off about as much light as a single candle, lit a circle around 10 feet across, half a bedroom, and burned for over an hour, almost smokeless. A torch nearby blazed brighter, but burned out in 40 minutes, like a guest who shows up loud and runs out of steam fast. A pocket lantern that runs all evening on nothing but fat. Your phone dies by morning. His lamp doesn't. And now you're thinking, fine, he was clever. But food was scarce for him, a starving savage. Well, brace yourself. Sometimes he had food to spare, and that's exactly what killed him. Picture it, a good hunt, a full belly of meat every day. Pure protein, a personal trainer's dream. Logic says you're saved. Reality says you're a dead man. They call it rabbit starvation or meat sickness, and it all comes down to fat, or rather, the lack of it. A wild rabbit is about 8% fat. Fatty pork or beef has many times more. His game was lean, like rabbit, not fatty, like your steak. And with no fat, the body has to pull its energy from protein. And that's where the poison starts. Breaking down protein produces ammonia, and the liver and kidneys run themselves ragged flushing it out, until at some point they can't keep up. First comes weakness and nausea. By day 10, a full breakdown. And within a couple of weeks, death. On a full stomach, polar explorers knew it as caribou sickness. The dietitians of the 21st century, with their podcasts and macro calculators, only recently rediscovered what a man with a spear knew in his gut. You can't eat lean game clean. Fat isn't a luxury. It's the price of staying alive. And yet he ate meat for years in the frozen wild, without a single piece of fruit, farther than Chicago to Denver. By all our rules, he should have fallen apart from scurvy, like those gold prospectors. But he didn't. And that's the strangest part of the whole story. There's an orange in your fridge, and you know why. Without vitamin C comes scurvy. Gums bleed, teeth fall out, the body falls apart. Scurvy mowed down whole camps of gold prospectors, with wagons full of provisions sitting right there. Now the riddle. People who lived above the Arctic Circle for thousands of years, with no fruit and no vegetables, didn't get scurvy. The Inuit. What saved them wasn't an orange. It was the thing most of us would toss out in disgust. There's almost no vitamin C in muscle meat, the same steak you throw on the grill on the weekend. But it hides in the organs, the liver, the brain, where there's an especially high amount of it. It takes only about 10 milligrams of vitamin C a day to keep scurvy away, and a small piece of raw liver gave even more than that. The key word is raw. Vitamin C is destroyed by heat. Cook that liver, and you kill its protection along with it. The Inuit ate it raw and got a full day's dose of the very thing gold prospectors were dying for, 2 steps from a wagon of provisions. In 1928, the polar explorer Vilhjalmur Stephenson and a colleague, under doctor's supervision, ate nothing but meat for a whole year, organs about once a week, not a leaf of greens. Scurvy never came. That ancient hunter didn't know the words ascorbic acid. He just knew. This slick, warm thing inside the animal gives you strength, and without it, the body gives out. And he was right, thousands of years before the first lab. Let's add it up. He drew light from fat burning in stone. He fed his fires with bone where there wasn't a splinter of wood. He held things in his teeth that you'd need a third hand for. He knew that pure meat kills you on a full stomach. And he ate a raw organ that turned out to be stronger than scurvy. 5 things, and not one of them by accident. And now the real question. All of this was done by a creature we condescendingly called the dumb caveman, because he didn't have our gadgets and he lived in the dirt. He read the body of an animal the way you read a label on a package. He knew which part gives light, which gives heat, which gives life, and which one quietly kills you. Maybe the savage in this story isn't him. Maybe it's us. We forgot how to see anything in a piece of meat but dinner. If this look at our ancestors flipped something in your head, hit like and subscribe to Primal. There's a lot more forgotten out there that we write off as primitive.